There's really only 3 different things to shoot: landscape, portraits, and things that move really fast. So you turned your little dial on the top of your camera to the M and it's all black, or it's all white, or it's just off and it doesn't look good, and you have no idea what's going on, you have no idea how to do it. That was me. Until I met a cool dude named Tim who was like, hey man, you need to learn how to shoot manual mode because that is the best. And I was like, all right, teach me. And so he taught me, and ever since that, I've been shooting manual for everything I do. So here is my manual mode made easy guide for you. So what is manual mode? So there's really only 3 things that come into play when you're capturing light through your camera, and that will create the photo. It's your shutter speed, your aperture, and your ISO. Shutter speed, how long the light is being absorbed into the camera. Aperture, what size opening the lens has to let the light in. Third thing is ISO. It's your camera's way of adjusting the brightness. Everything is a balance. Everything you move and you adjust with your shutter speed is going to affect your ISO, which is going to affect your aperture. And if you adjust your aperture, it's going to affect your shutter speed, and it's going to affect your aperture, and everything affects everything. So it sounds confusing, but stay with me. Here's a quick start. If you're shooting a portrait, keep your shutter speed at 1/125th of a second or higher, or your photos might be blurry. Let me show you what that looks like. This photo I took at 3 seconds exposure, and it's obviously really blurry. I'm sitting doing this for 3 seconds, and it's obviously capturing all that at the same time and turning it into one photo, so you end up with a blurry photo. You don't want that. So you think, okay, maybe if I up it to like 1/10th of a second, it won't be blurry, right? No, see, it's still blurry. So now we raised it back up to 1/90th of a second, and now you can see it's actually a lot better, it's a lot more clear, but there is still some blur on my hands as I'm moving them. So we don't want that. We want to raise it to at least 125th of 1 second. That will ensure that the photo is relatively nice and clear. Most of the time you always want to be shooting with a wide open aperture, the lowest number you can possibly get your lens to. Most DSLR lenses go to 2.8 as the lowest aperture. I would just keep it there majority of the time if you can. If you do have a lens that goes below 2.0, like a 50mm 1.8 or a 1.2, you need to be careful shooting group photography because you will get blurry people in the background. If there's a subject here and a subject slightly behind that person, they're gonna be blurry. The bokeh is not meant for group shots at that point. It's great to enjoy the luxuries of low f-stop like 1.2. However, you don't want to get carried away trying to blur things that don't make sense. So you might notice for group shots, or if someone's holding something and you want to get this and them in focus at the same time, you're going to want to use at least 2.8 to 4, which brings us to our next point, ISO. ISO 100 is the best. It's the lowest, and it's going to be the most clean, clear image you can get. No grain. If you can keep it at 100, do that. The good thing about a low f-stop is the lower the f-stop, the more wide open the lens can be, and the less you have to rely on ISO in low light conditions like this. ISO is the last thing I adjust because it's kind of an automatic thing. You could almost just set it on auto, although I've done that before and my camera tends to push it a little higher than I like, and you end up with really washed out whites. Like the sky is way too overdone. ISO is your camera's way of turning up the brightness, so if the photo looks a little dark, your aperture is already set to a really low f-stop, and your shutter speed has to be up to a certain speed because you're getting someone walking or moving, then your ISO is the last thing. It has to be pushed up a little bit. If it's dark outside, you may notice you have to bump up the ISO a little bit just to get a clear image. However, the higher the ISO, the worse the quality of the image will become. You're gonna end up with very poor quality image if you go above 1600 without a flash. It's gonna be grainy, it's gonna be blurry, not professional at all. Alright guys, that's the video. Please, if you have any more questions, feel free to comment down below. Subscribe, because I will be doing more videos like this, teaching you how to become a professional photographer. Give this video a thumbs up, hit the like button. Peace! Alright, what's up you guys? Today we're going to be talking mohawks and tie-dye shirts and why they are important for wedding photography.